What is different about your product?
You got a story to tell. Something gonna connect to somebody else.
How to actually run a business versus having a vision for a business.
A lot of people come to me and they say they're scared to take that next leap.
Visual design is always going to be driven by the vision.
And I just was like, how do I do this?
What am I adding that they don't have?
Hey, brand builders, ready to take your brand to the next level? I'm Dana Ammons, and welcome to the Brand Blueprint. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brand Blueprint. Today, we have a special guest here to help us discuss the topic of vision. We have the wonderful Aisha Crump with us today, who is a 2 times over founder, a serial entrepreneur, and just an all-around overall expert in the beauty category for consumer products. So today, we are bringing Aisha on to first talk to her about who she is and learn a little bit more about her experience and her history in the category. And then we'll bring her into our panel discussion where we will get down to business on figuring out what kind of vision we want to create for our leave-in conditioner. So to get started, Aisha, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Dana. Thanks so much for having me. I'm honored to be one of your first guests on the podcast.
No, you actually are the first guest. So, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You are the first guest ever on the Brand Blueprint podcast. So we really are happy to have you. So one of the things we like to do on the show is before we get too serious and jump into the meat and potatoes of the interview, we want to talk to you a little bit about just, get to know you a little bit better and let our audience get to know who Aisha Crump is. And so I've got a couple of just quick questions. I'm going to throw them out there. You answer. It'll just kind of get you going for the rest of the interview. All right?
All right. Come on. Fire them up, Dana.
All right, good. Okay, so first off the bat, I know you well. You are a mom and a boss in and of itself, so you do a lot in a day. Tell me what you start the day off with in terms of breakfast.
Coffee. And as you know, I'm Puerto Rican. We'll get into that. So I like espresso coffee con leche y azúcar. So I have to have me some strong espresso coffee with a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar every morning.
I
And
love it.
typically, honestly, lately I've been trying to fast. So I won't eat until afternoon, which is crazy. But
Yeah,
the coffee holds me over. It gets me going. And then I go get a workout in. And at 11:30 noon, then I'll get going with breakfast.
man, that actually segues into the next question, which is what do you spend the majority of your time outside of work and all of your hustles doing?
Mothering,
Yeah.
being a parent. It's crazy. The last 2 years have been so different. I've been on the road traveling for 6 years with my brand, but because post COVID and a lot of changes, I really enjoy my children. I have teenagers now. When I started the brand, they were babies, and teenagers are amazing, regardless what everyone says. So, whether it being a rap mom, my son's performing and going to his concerts. My daughter is getting ready to go to college, so we spend a lot of
Yep.
time touring
Sunny
colleges,
California.
right? And then my baby is playing lacrosse and she's dancing, and like I swear every other day we have some type of social event with one of my kids. So it's just been a blessing, although things have been quiet with the brand, to really, really enjoy being a mother. It's the greatest joy of my life. My inspiration behind becoming an entrepreneur, inspiration behind my brand, and everything I do is fueled by those kids, my 3 babies.
I love it. What brand would you say, any category, any particular product, what brand are you the most loyal to?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Okay, so I use Secret deodorant, and I've been using Secret, and I use Clinical Strength
Yeah,
for a lot of years. Dove soap,
because you're
and
always on the move, huh?
always on the move. So I got to be clean and I got to be fresh. I got to be so fresh and so clean. So I can't go without Dove soap, and I can't go without my Secret Clinical Strength deodorant. So other than that, I used to be a loyal Crest follower, but now I'm using charcoal fluoride-free toothpaste.
Yeah,
So those things I change up. I won't go to aluminum deodorant, and if I tell you why, you will know. So yeah, my deodorant and my soap are important because you always have to just be fresh, crisp, and ready.
that is so true. Now, in that same kind of category, shea butter or coconut oil?
Um, I am not a huge butter person, but I would say shea butter. And the reason being is because I hate to get oil on my clothes.
I
I'm gonna be honest,
know that's
and
right.
I can't. I put it on in the morning, and I'm like, it gets on my clothes. And not only that, but my hair is extremely fine, and so if I'm touching oils and butters and I get it in my hair, it's gonna be a
It's
wash
done.
day. So.
Yeah. Yep. I could totally understand that. Now, shifting gears a little bit, we'll talk a little retail. Walmart or Target?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
All right. We do have those passes available because, as
You
you know,
know,
in this
we'll get into
industry,
that a little bit
yep.
later, but
Yep.
as currently I'm an Amazon. I don't have
Amazon.
time to go to the
Hmm.
store to walk the aisles. You can buy everything cheaper on e-commerce.
Good answer.
And I love to support direct to consumer businesses, being a business owner and realizing the challenges that retail's put on you and some of the ways that retailers love to push you out. I rather support the businesses
I
directly on
love
their
that.
e-commerce sites, and I want to support them on Amazon because
Yep.
Amazon is the future. I mean, I
Yep.
get boxes delivered every single day, and I'm saving money, and it's just easy.
Yep. No, look, I'm looking across the room at a couple of boxes sitting on my counter now that I need to open up. I'm a big buyer of Amazon products and services as well. As I think about some of the things that I know personally about you, one of the things I think would be interesting to the crowd is, like me, you are a pet owner. So, pet names. What are the names of the current pets in the house?
Well, I went 18 years without saying yes to my children for a dog or a cat or a bird or a snake. We had nothing, not even a fish in our house. And during COVID, my youngest daughter begged me for a pet, and I decided to go again, time with the easiest pet. And I have a cat named Mars. And
Mars.
she, like the planet, she was supposed
Yep.
to be my daughter's cat, but she sleeps with me. She follows me around the house, and she is my baby. And so now that I'm going to be an empty nester, it's going to be me and my baby Mars for the next,
Ah, just
hopefully the next
Mars.
20 years. Well, let's say 17. She's 3 years old now.
Oh, that's classic. All right, now last two questions, and I know you are a big fan of hip hop. Here on the brand Blueprint, we are definitely hip hop heads, and so you will see some of that leak through the show at times, especially in some of the questions. So, last two I've got for you. First one, we'll start with the more recent of the two, call it major news points in hip hop, and that is: are you on Team Drake? Are you Team Kendrick?
I'm gonna get in trouble for this one, but I'm not a huge current hip hop fan, and my
Oh.
playlists are old school hip hop all day, every day.
Okay, okay. So that
So
leads to the second question. Let's start with the second
I
question.
have not listened to one of the Drake Kendrick Lamar beefs at all. But if I
Oh,
had
how could you avoid it in Chicago? You haven't even heard it come on the radio?
because I'm not really interested. I'm not.
Oh,
And I would say that if I had to choose my favorite, it would be Kendrick.
yeah,
As far as I think Drake has just been singing for 20 years the same thing. His songs all sound the same. And so when I think about hip hop, as I know it, it's storytelling, but it's also like rhythmic and it's also showing your skill set. So I would definitely say Kendrick from an artist perspective,
yeah.
but I haven't even listened to the beef. I don't have time for that. I'm over here trying to reinvent myself, Dana.
Okay, then look, old school, Tupac or Biggie?
Pac all day. He's
We
my
are
Gemini
Pac's the favorite of
brother.
the show.
He's my Gemini brother. Like, I mean, he's like his personality, his zest for life, like his drive. It's not even just about the music. It's just about reinventing himself. I mean, he could do East Coast, he could do West Coast, he can act, he can. I mean, he did everything. He was amazing. I mean, he spanned across the country. Like, it's unfortunate that he's no longer around because the other day I was watching Juice, and I'm like, man, this brother was just talented. So yeah, Pac
He
all
was.
day. I had
He was, and
Machiavelli
you.
on rotation in the gym last week.
All right, so that wraps up the quick fire questions. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the interview now, and we'll start with our first question. All right, let's dive right in, Aisha. I want to talk to you about the two brands that you are most known for in terms of your founder experience, Honey Baby and Botanica. Today's topic that we are exploring is establishing a vision for your brand. But before we jump into the vision specifically, tell us a little bit about your founder journey, how you got started, and what led you to first create Honey Baby.
Absolutely, Dana. So I'm a chemical engineer. Well, I studied chemical engineering at Purdue University. And I tell people this story. I only chose it because it was the highest paid undergraduate degree. I went down the list and I said, growing up poor, I wanted to have something stable. So let me pick a degree that I know that if I do it, I can get a great job. So that was my mindset. So put it there. I'm an extrovert. I'm a people person. I spent sixth to 12th grade in theater. I was always motivational speaking on stage, whatever. And so when I was in college, I loved chemistry. I loved the engineering. I liked developing, but I didn't see myself ever in a lab. I didn't see
Mm.
myself, doing research and development. I think my first interview out of college was with oil field services. I didn't see myself with high heels on a rig either. So I always loved beauty. And so it took me years to get to that point where I knew that the beauty industry is how I would use all the knowledge and all the skill set that I developed over the years. So I transitioned. I worked in pharmaceutical sales. It was a great, easy job. Honed in my sales skills, learned a lot about myself, discipline, and hated it. Went into device. It was more money. It was great. I was living my best
Hmm.
life. It was more
Hmm.
specialized. It was more technical. So I really dove deep into technical side. And at 28 years old is when I kind of had a quarter life crisis when I realized that I can work a great job for the rest of my life and make decent money, but does it make me happy? Am I impacting other people's lives, or am I changing and building something for my family and my future? 28 years old, I I actually went on a reality TV show, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Really? I had not heard that story. So yeah, you're right.
That's a whole nother
That'll be the
podcast.
brand blueprint after hours audience. We will release that later this month. Look for that later this month.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I'm 28 and I'm happy, everything's good, but this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. You have that fire burning inside of you.
Hey, Eloise, rewind that.
But this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. You have that fire burning inside of you. And that's when The Apprentice and these other shows were really big. So I figured that if I did this, maybe it'd be like a catalyst for me to start a business or a brand because,
Right.
I didn't have entrepreneurs in my family. I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I was trying
Ditto.
to find an easy way to get exposure. So I actually went on a sabbatical and I ventured into the world of reality TV. And it was actually Richard Branson, who is one of
Wow.
my absolute favorite entrepreneurs. He is a risk taker. He's daring. He's smart. He's charismatic. And, he doesn't give a flying F if you ask
Yeah.
him in his own
Yeah.
words about what anybody thinks. He's going to venture into different outlets. And so, I was 28. And I thought this Puerto Rican girl from Gary, Indiana, could just do it. I just didn't know. And I had my son at the time, and I ventured out. I went to Europe, and I was actually in Windsor Castle with Richard Branson. And the first person that I meet was Sarah Blakely of Spanx Pantyhose.
No way.
Yeah, this is a whole nother story, but to tell you the inspiration, and she had just founded Spanx, and we're on this reality TV show together, and the show was really about entrepreneurs taking risks and chances and stepping out on your dreams. And so, long story short, I got kicked off. We'll talk about that.
Shouts out to Sarah Blakely. She's got a new show on right now. I think Netflix that I was watching the other day.
Man,
That's a
I did.
dope story.
It's yeah, and so after the show finished, I knew that okay, I always wanted to take engineering, chemistry, beauty, confidence, sales, and I want to create a beauty brand. So when I came back from the reality TV show after failing in my eyes, I just started working, and I just was like,
Mm.
how do I do this? I didn't know,
Hmm.
and so I started researching everything. I started working. This is a funny story. I quit my six-figure job to become the brand manager for NARS Cosmetics because I wanted to get into beauty. So I started learning everything about beauty. I started going to every session. I was like, okay, now I'm learning about the marketing aspect of it. And then I got a contract filler. I didn't know anything about that business. So my first venture was actually
Wow.
cosmetics. People don't know that. It was a brand called Culture Shock Cosmetics. And it was based off of my whole life experience and always feeling like as a woman of color, no matter how smart I am, no matter how amazing I am, how hard I work, it's always a culture shock because they're going to knock you back down into your place. I always felt that way. So
I
That was
mean,
my
so out of inspiration, out of failure, you felt like you came out of failure with the Richard Branson experience, but then you took that as inspiration. I mean, pretty amazing. Like you, instead of coming home and sulking and decide, nah, you know what, I'm just going to, like you said, go work a 9 to 5 and just do what I can do. You were inspired to go and take even more risk.
Yeah, it was. And it was crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. It was just,
Yeah.
I've always had this like fire of me to be great. Like I always look, I'm 47 this weekend. And I think about it like, man, I don't have much longer to make my impact on this world. And if I would have stayed working my pharma job or my sales job, yes, I help people get medicines, but I wanted my impact to be greater in society. I wanted to really, make an impact. So yeah, so that was people always say, what did it? It was that turning point in my life. And then so I came back and I was like, okay, I got to make money because I lived a nice life and, I had children. So I typed in the computer sales, chemical engineering. I didn't know what job existed. And I got a job selling chemicals for the beauty industry. It was amazing. And so I was working for a specialty chemical sales company, and I started calling on all these companies, basically selling chemicals. And I'm teaching all the entrepreneurs how to make products, claim substantiation, how to develop them. I would see all these products on shelf, and I said, I think I created everything about that product, from the copy to the concept to the claims. And I'm helping all these other people get rich. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I was on one of my sales trips to one of my clients. I think I was going to the, I don't know, Nebraska, St. Louis. I was in the Midwest. I'm out of Chicago. And
Shouts
I'm in
out to
the,
Nebraska.
yeah, oh yeah. And I'm in the airport, and I think C-SPAN is on. And Sarah Blakely, Spanx Pantyhose, they're interviewing her. And they announce her as the youngest self-made American female billionaire. And it was
Wow.
like, Aisha,
Wow.
what the hell are you doing? I was
Right.
like, you were on the same playing field. You were
Right.
sitting with this woman, when you were 28 years old, and you're wasting your time. And that was like, okay, I'm jumping all in. So I went from selling chemicals. One of my clients was a contract manufacturer. He was the biggest manufacturer of ethnic hair care in the Midwest. He asked me to come join him. And mind you, I went from a very, very plush European company, making a lot of money with a company car, corporate credit cards, travel benefits, pension,
Yeah.
401k,
Know that life.
to go working for a small Pakistani family, different culture, different religion, different
Wow.
every day in a factory, in a plant, only woman in a higher VP level position. So
Wow.
can you imagine? So I did that for 5 years. And I learned everything about product development, manufacturing. I was actually on the line learning how to manufacture product, costing goods, sourcing chemicals, sourcing packaging. And then after that, I did some consulting to learn the retail. And then finally, I had that moment. It was 2016. And I said, okay, Aisha, you graduated college in 99. You have spent all these years learning everything there is to
Mm-hmm.
know.
Gathering all this knowledge.
You've experienced, you've tried, you've done everything. Just do it.
Can we hear that again?
Just do it. And I think the problem with so many entrepreneurs is that we're scared to let go of our comfort and jump in.
Good point.
And even though I had all this knowledge, I didn't have the money or the pockets. So it was scary, but I did it, Dana. I said, okay, I have this idea that's in the back of my head for a brand that is real niche, and I'm going to try it. And if it doesn't work, no one will even know, because it's so small that I won't be a failure. Failure is a hard thing. And
Yeah,
I
it
think a
is.
lot of people come to me and they say they're scared to take that next leap because they're scared of failure. And, the biggest fear is never taking that chance. And that's
Correct.
how I feel. So at that point, I had this idea. I'm Puerto Rican. My husband's African-American. Our kids have completely different hair textures. I used to do their hair in the kitchen. And we have a bucket for Kyra, a bucket for Karan, and Khalil had his own products. We all had our own products, and we had these buckets. And I was like, this is too much dang on work. I said, why don't I create a brand that is multicultural, that is natural, that's about all textures, that I can use for everyone in the family, and we can layer it depending on your hairstyle. So
The start of your vision.
that was
Right?
the start
Like
of my
the
vision.
start of your vision.
It was basically to meet a need that I had, that I know as we look at we look at the United States of America, We are a multicultural society. We are
Yep.
growing as a multicultural society by the day. By the year 2050, 80% of all population growth will be Latino. And as a Latina woman, I didn't see any products in the aisles that reflected who I was, made for us, by us. And so I just
Great
had
point.
this fire, kind of like the reality
Yep.
TV show. I had this fire,
Yep.
like, I'm going to change the narrative. I am going to, do this. And my mom, so let's back up. My parents didn't go to college. They got GEDs, got married when they're 18 and 20. Their grandparents came from Puerto Rico, didn't speak English. So they were working. My dad worked in the steel industry and blue collar. And so when I quit my job, my family thought I was crazy.
Of
They were
course,
they were
right?
they were talking me off a ledge. They were like, "Don't do it, don't do it," And I just knew I had to. So we had to scale back. When I say scale back, our kids were like, "Mama, we are gonna lose everything. We're poor." And I jumped all in. I took out my savings. I took out 401k. Awful. I wish I still had it now. And I bet on myself. I knew the manufacturing. I knew how to do everything. I went online. I filed trademarks. I did registration. My first line had 7 core essential products that I needed, that I felt like everybody else needed.
Hmm.
I did the naming, the nomenclature, the branding, the logo, everything. I created my own website. And what's really funny is the website that's up right now is still from the very first Wix template that I did myself back in 2017.
And Aisha, let's stay with that point for a little bit because I want our viewers to first realize how much actually goes into each of those components you just talked about. Because you started with this vision that was born out of realizing there was an unmet need, right, in your own household. And I think you bring up a great point about vision as it relates to creating products, meaning people can have a vision. It doesn't require a lot of technical expertise. It doesn't require that you went to college or you got a master's degree in chemical engineering. It just requires that you have identified a problem that you think could be solved in a way that you don't currently see in the marketplace. But then as you started creating this line of products, like you said, you started delving into creative and you were doing websites. And talk a little bit about like what that's like as a founder to have to quickly acquire these new skills to keep your vision moving forward.
So it's crazy because it's like I wasn't working, I wasn't bringing in money, but I was working
Right.
24 hours a day. It was like you just get so excited and you just have this energy and this fire. And so I would just go online. I think I'm a smart enough person. I would say, okay, what is the best way to build a website? I don't have any. I mean, I took a coding class in college, no idea. And so it's
Hmm.
just like you learn by fire. You have a fire. I had a deadline. I said, okay, I want to launch my brand by this date. I'm going to figure it out. And so the good thing is because I have worked in the business with this contract filler, I had worked on logos, I had worked on regulatory, I had worked on development and product. And so I had some knowledge. But if you don't have the knowledge, you go and seek someone who has the knowledge. And
Yep.
so for me, it was step by step. I made a checklist. Okay, here's all the things. I mean, the money was one thing for the product. That was easy. Okay, once I had that, I knew. But it was like, okay, I have to get a website. I have to get social media platforms. I have to register trademarks. I have to register the brand. So I had a checklist. And every day, like I had a job, I would get up in the morning. I would set a schedule. Here's the things that I need to do today. But Dana, the one thing was that we're going to get into that later, is I didn't do a formal 5-year business plan.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an idea. Again, I didn't go get my MBA. I didn't go to business school. I'm an engineer. I'm a creative. And so it's just like the here and now. And I was killing the here and now. I just
Correct.
didn't really predict so much into the future. Like, what about when you get that first retail order? I didn't know
Correct.
how quickly it was going to happen. What about warehousing? I was operating out of my condo in downtown Chicago. Like, I had product coming out of the cabinets, out the fridge, in my bedroom, behind the couch.
Which
So
is a common problem, right, with
yeah.
founders, right? You get in and you have this great vision and you start really working, and all of a sudden you find yourself dealing with certain aspects of the business that you just don't have any experience dealing with. That I think that's a great point to kind of rewind a little bit and you to just give our viewers some advice. If you could rewind, back to that point in time and back to your point, I think people get the vision part confused with the business plan part, right? Understanding how to actually run a business versus having a vision for a business are
Right.
two different things. Talk to the audience a little bit about what if you could talk to your younger self and say, hey, this is what you probably need to focus on, because everybody, right, has seen a business plan, but a business plan can be 15 pages long and intricate and have forecasts and P&Ls, or a business plan can be a 5-page simplified document with just a clear, concise read of what the actual business concept is. So talk to me a little bit about, like, if you're advising a young brand founder owner right now on how to tackle that aspect of creating your first brand and vision, what would you say?
So it's funny because I do consult with brands for the last 2, 3 years. I've been consulting. And the first thing that I say is I learned from my mistakes. I said, what is your 5-year plan? Because you need to know how you're going to fund and finance every step of the business, from each retailer, each DTC, each marketing concept. So you need to understand, okay, I estimated that my first set of COGS, cost of goods, was going to be $30,000 for my brand. I didn't estimate how quickly I was going to sell it, how quickly I was going to have to replenish, where I was going to have to put it. So the first thing I tell people is, as I'm working on new things now, or as I'm consulting, give me a 5-year plan, because 5 years is a great mark where you're going to have growth, where you're going to understand at that point, you should definitely have funding coming in. What point do you want to take investors? When do you want to take funding? I'm talking to you today as someone who created an amazing brand. I was at the top of my game. I was on every stage, every platform with every other founder. And I plummeted.
Yo, Eloise, run that back again. We got to definitely hear that one more time.
And I plummeted, and I fell hard because I was thinking about the here and now versus the future. And if I could tell my younger self, and I can go back, definitely solid planning, financial planning, marketing planning, and growth, because growth happens. My first year of business, and we'll get into it, I got into Target. I wasn't even anticipating. Again, I was throwing this small little honey baby niche brand at the wall just to learn. And within my first year, I'm on the shelves at Target. I had no idea it was going to blow up so quickly, and how I would handle it, the growth, and how I would get to that level. So again, it's proper planning, funding, financing, understanding. I have a list of questions that I ask all the people that I decide to consult with. Do you want business partners? Do you want investors? Where do you want to sell your product? Because it's different if you're selling it on e-commerce versus retail. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to be? Do you want to sell? Do you want, so there's a lot of questions to ask yourself. So I think the most important thing is there's a vision, there's a passion, and then the responsible part of it is the business plan. And you don't have to go to grad school. You don't have to go to B school to come up with a plan. There's so many great books and resources and things that you can use to help develop that simple plan that's going to basically lay out your 5-year projections, your growth, your funding, your resources, and so forth, because that is how you succeed. When how about COVID was a beast that no one ever dreamt of. So I couldn't put that on my 5-year plan. But you can say, how about if you lose distribution? How about if you gain distribution? How about if you have legal issues, which we'll get into later? So there's so many things that you have to, how about if, or what if, and ask yourself those questions and put that into your plan so that you can be successful.
And Aisha, tell me this, because one of the things I've always loved about your personality and the way you approach things is you are very, very self-aware and honest about what you have and haven't been able to accomplish, what you feel works in a brand and what doesn't. And one of the things when we work together on Urban Therapy that I really appreciated having you as part of that experience is you always are very good at kind of stopping and saying, okay, is this the best right I can put forward or produce? And if it's not, do I need to go get help, or do I need to look at this a different way? How do you I find that founders have to, tend to be very protective of their brands like babies, right? And like, as you brought that vision forward, you had Honey Baby, really rolling at the top of your game. And now all of a sudden, like you said, it starts to plummet. You start to see changes in sales, changes in customer interaction. What would you advise founders to do in those particular moments where things are not always going great, and now all of a sudden things aren't working the way you thought that they should work? What kind of advice would you give a founder in that situation?
Pivot scenarios. I need to be the queen of pivot. And I think that, you see a bump in the road and you're like, oh, I'm going to get over this. Every time you just start to see that obstacle forming, what is my pivot?
Mhm.
What is option A? What is option B? When I started to see, well, COVID, we just don't throw that out the window because no one saw that coming. No one knew about that. But say, for instance, one of my challenges was my manufacturing partner. I only had one. Don't do that. And
Yeah.
let me be real with all you founders, wannabe founders, and potential entrepreneurs. Majority of brands on the market do not manufacture their own goods. They use contract partners, contract fillers. There's probably 3 legacy Black-owned hair care brands that actually manufacture. Outside of that, every single brand that you find on shelf is manufactured by a contract filler, a contract partner. So I was loyal to one. Bad mistake, because if that one manufacturer screws you over or doesn't want to make your product, changes the formula, raise your prices, you're stuck. And so,
Or COVID, like you
or
said, right?
COVID,
Or
I
COVID
lived in
was a
Chicago.
cripple,
We were shut
right?
down for 6 months,
COVID had a crippling effect on that industry.
on everything. And so I think the
Yep.
thing is pivot. Okay, one pivot is let me diversify my supply chain. Let me have multiple manufacturers, multiple
Hmm.
packaging suppliers, multiple P&L warehousing, locations. And so I think that we're loyal. I'm a very loyal person. And so I was being too loyal and not loyal to
Hmm.
myself and my brand. And so I think that the minute, and I'm doing this again. I decided I had so many opportunities to go work for other people in the last year, go back to corporate. I'm good at what I do. Yes, I made
Exactly.
mistakes. Yes, I fell. And I cried for 6 months because this is
Hmm.
my baby. This is my passion. This is my love.
Hmm.
But I'm going to get back up. And because of all these things that I learned, I'm going to come back stronger and harder and avoid a lot of those pitfalls because my pivots will be in place. As soon as I see an obstacle in the road, get ready for that pivot.
So talk a little bit about the pivot for you, Aisha, and how because you started with Honey Baby and you did some things within that brand, and then you hit a couple of bumps in the road with that brand, and then you pivoted and you decided to do a couple of different things. Talk a little bit and tell the audience about what you did in that moment.
So, I mean, there's multiple pivots from retail, e-com that we'll talk about, but you're saying as far as like the branding and the pivot that I made.
Hmm.
When I launched Honey Baby Naturals in 2017, I was the only Latina founder in a predominantly Black and ethnic hair care, textured hair care segment.
Hmm.
Um, and the retailers didn't know what to do with my brand. They didn't know where to put me. They didn't know how to segment the product. And again, mistakes that I learned. I had a distributor that said, "Oh, we're just going to put you in the Black ethnic hair care section, and your brand's going to live there." And so I just let everyone else dictate where the brand lives. So whenever there was an opportunity to highlight products, sorry, you're Latina, we can't highlight your product, even though it was a family brand. My children were a part of it. And so I missed out on a lot of opportunities to promote the brand in the section that I lived in because of how I look or how my hair texture was or who I am. And so it's just like, okay, I let them dictate where the brand lives, where it sits. And my consumer base is very, very diverse. And I'm thankful for the women that have been supporting my brand and the men and the grandmas and the honey babies and the honey mamas,
Hmm.
honey daddies, from day one. But our brand was really a brand for all. It was really about textures and hair care. And so, I'm doing well, I'm growing, but I had so many challenges where you're a baby brand, you're a kid brand, you're not suitable for this. And so in 2019, I was just like, okay, we're growing as a Latina woman. The Hispanic population is growing. I'm going to give them what they want. I'm not Black enough. I'm not Latina enough. I'm not white enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not social media famous enough. I mean, they were killing me. I'm like, I'm doing everything. I'm smart. I'm working. I have the most amazing. Try Honey Baby, and you will know is the best products you ever tried. Everything was winning. I was winning awards, but I was not jumping to the next level because of all those reasons. So in 2019, I knew all the buyers And I just saw an opportunity as a Latina woman to do something that wasn't done, be exclusively or create a brand that was really talked about in the Latina community. So I created Botanika Beauty, which basically paid homage to our heritage and being a Latina woman coming to this country. And we would go to the apothecaries known as Botanikas to care for our hair care. So I was like, okay, got him. Now tell me I'm not Latina enough. But I still wasn't dang on Latina enough because my Spanish isn't perfect. My hair isn't curly, and so it's just, that was a pivot that, I did. I don't regret it. I mean, we got in 1,200 Walmart stores in caps in year one. We were killing it. Then COVID happened. But again, it was a pivot based off an opportunity, and then other pivots have been during COVID. I switched to e-com. I went on Amazon. It was incredible for my business. I should have had marketing pivots. I should have been investing more money into marketing and infrastructure. I didn't have a warehouse because we couldn't afford overhead. And so a lot of these things, I learned too late. But again, now as I'm doing this again, I'm going to look at, I'm going to predict some of the things that could happen. And then what would I do scenario if these things did happen?
No, those are great points. I think you make a really great point, and I want our viewers to really understand that you missed 100% of the shots you don't take, right? But what people don't also tell you sometimes is you also don't always make 100% of the shots you do take, right? And so don't expect to go in and just be completely successful without having some challenge, some point where you're going to have at some point. I think you mentioned several times is you're going to have to pivot, right? And then as you pivot out of some of these opportunities, one of the things I want you to share with our audience, Aisha, because you have a significant amount of experience in understanding what not just the consumer is looking for, but what the retailer is looking for from a good brand partner and a good brand. Talk a little bit about some of those things that you learned in your experience working with the Targets and the Walmarts and the Sally and the and the Walgreens of the world, what the retailers are actually looking for from a founder.
Okay, so the retailers, three things: money. They love our category because our products cost 2 to 3 times as much as general market products. So they love the fact that they can get high margin products. So they love it's appealing. They're attracted by it. But 2, they want you to bring us, our customers, Black, Latina, mixed, textured hair, to the retailers. They want you to do the marketing, to drive traffic to the shelves of their stores. Let's go back 10 years. Was anybody going in Walmart and Target really to buy multi-textured hair? We, OGs in this industry, the mixed chicks, the Miss Jessies, and I know I'm friends with all the founders, the Jane Carters, where's they at? Where's she at today? Again, and that's a whole nother story. They created the textured multicultural hair segments at Target. They drove the traffic to Target. They created a need for that consumer to go in there, not only to buy their hair care products, but everything else. So 1, the price point, the margins. 2, the traffic. Are you famous? Are you an influencer? Are you hiring influencers? They're not paying us to do that. We do that on our own. And we're basically forced to say, go to Target, buy these products at Target instead of our own website, And then 3, movement. No upfront. How many units per store per week do you have to move? Are there any incentives for minority initiatives? I know that Walmart has a strong diversity initiative where your payment terms might not be 45 days or 60, but you can get paid in net 10. People don't know about that. I didn't know about that until after it was too late. And so upfront knowing, okay, how am I going to, attract them? Price point, margins. The first question Target asked me in my first meeting is, how many followers do you have on social media? I'm like, damn, 1,000. That was it. That's all Honey Baby had. But they saw me kicking butt at a trade show and lined out the door. So there's like, this girl is on to something. And then the third thing is knowing what the expectations are. If you want to stay on shelf, you usually get 6 months to a year. How many units per store per week? Hey, I'm a minority woman. Are there any programs for people of color that come into your store that we get our metrics? How can I go up against Cantu? How can I go up against L'Oreal, P&G? I can't. but being
Right.
realistic, what do you expect me to do to compete with them so that I can stay on your shelf? Know that up front and come up with a plan to support that. That's the retail
No,
side.
great point. Great point. Now, before we wrap up this portion of the interview, one of the final questions I wanted you to answer, and it ties really to vision, but it also ties to what you also called out, which is the practical side of managing the business itself, right? And having that 5 year plan. There's a lot of argument in the culture right now, Aisha, about selling out at the end of that 5 years and cashing out, right, and getting to that nirvana where somebody pays you a handsome sum to take over the brand and run it, or in some corners of the culture, staying true to the brand and the culture and continuing to own it and grow it beyond the 5 years, which presents its own set of challenges and rewards. Talk a little bit about your personal opinion on what that journey should, be like for a founder, because that is a huge debate among founders right now. Are you in this to eventually sell and, and cash out on reap the benefits of all your hard work and efforts, or should you remain true to that company and that brand you started all the way through the life cycle of the brand?
Man, this is something I've been struggling with. The minute I started plummeting in sales, I had to think about that. My initial plan, and to be honest with you, um, I was naive. I was like, I'm not going to take venture capitalists' money. My year
Hmm.
one, I was getting certified letters sent to my condo from Circle Up, Yellowtail. I had all these VC companies like hearing my buzz, my honey buzz, and
Hmm.
coming my way. And I didn't know enough about it. I had private investors that kept saying, "I want a piece of your business." And I was scared because I wasn't knowledgeable enough. I didn't have a financial advisor telling me the things that I need to know. And so
And
I
you hear
wanted,
so many of these horror stories,
I
right?
hear
Like, I
horror
think that
stories. Like,
that's a
yeah,
great point to bring up, Aisha. Like, you hear a lot of horror stories on, man, don't trust these people because they'll end up buying you out of your business. And the next thing you know, you've lost your brand, et cetera. I mean, I think
right. And
that's
I've
very
seen
fair.
it for real.
Right.
I've seen it.
Right.
I've heard it. And so I was naive. I thought I could bootstrap this business and take it to the next level, but bootstrapping only takes you so far. So my
Hmm.
plan was, okay, I am going to build this amazing multicultural brand. But I never could take it to the next level unless I sell it to a major, because let's just be real.
Warning, the following information is important. You may want to pay attention.
Let's just be real. If you go down the list, and I'm a data person, I'm an engineer, and you look at all the top ethnic companies, you have to get down to Camille Rose midway down the page to have a truly Black owned and operated brand. None other are. And it's just
Hmm.
ridiculous that people don't understand that. And everyone else has taken finance, they've taken money, they have partners. And so in order to scale to that next level, once you're getting above 10 million, you have to have some type of partner. So it's a choice. So my original thinking when I found a honey baby was, man, I'm going to create this beautiful multicultural brand, and I'm going to sell, because the goal is to make money and to create
Right.
generational wealth. I'm going to sell. My number one company that I targeted was Honest Company, because Jessica Alba is still a Latina woman. It's a
Hmm.
billion-dollar
Hmm.
brand. It's a clean
Yep.
beauty. And I felt like it was small enough where it wouldn't kill what my goals are. But I'm not going to stop working for them. They would only be able to buy me if they kept me on and let me take my passion and my vision into
And continue.
mainstream. Because
Yep.
the only way that multicultural brands are going to grow and we have more innovation and we avoid frivolous lawsuits. And I mean, what's going on with the relaxer category right now, that's a whole nother story and a
Great
whole nother day.
example. Yep.
But the only way that we become powerful on shelf, powerful on voice, is if we have the capital behind us, but it has to be done intentionally. So I've been knowing Dana for a few years now, and I've had 4 offers to sell the companies because everyone knows that I'm struggling. They want to basically get a penny on a dime. 2 fell through. They were historically Black legacy companies that I was so excited for, because I felt like by joining these companies that our legacy, it will help save them and save me and create a stronger foundation for this industry in the future moving forward. Like, I'm friends with the Luster family. I'm friends with the Gardner family. I've been around so many years where I've seen the Johnson family create legacy and wealth for Black people, for people of color in our category. 2 other offers were from Korean distributors. People don't know that the Koreans basically dominate all beauty supply, any of
Hmm.
your edge gels, your lace wigs, your wigs, they dominate them. And they gave me pretty hefty offers. But again, in my mind, it was like, are they going to stay true to who I am, to
Right.
my vision, to our community, to our people? Like, I've always, I'm born and raised in Gary, Indiana. I live in Chicago. I live in, I am all about giving back to the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders. And I just feel like, I think Richard Lou Dennis did it right. He
Hmm.
showed to
Great
Shea,
example.
showed Shea
Shout out to Rich.
Moisture, to Unilever, but he created a platform of wealth. Now he's out there just taking over the whole entire industry,
Snatching up
from
companies,
media,
right?
from everything. I mean, he's doing it right. I
Just
admire him.
acquired Revolt.
Yes, I admire him greatly, but he did get Unilever to create a fund that backed other companies to create other entrepreneurs, to
Hmm.
help the Lip Bar, to help
Hmm.
Mayo Organics. I mean,
Hmm.
he has his hand in the honey pot. There's 20
Hmm.
companies that this man has gone and basically pour back into to create more millionaires, to create more great companies. The challenge is not letting the brand get watered down
Yep.
and not letting these Fortune 500 companies take over the entire shelf, where entrepreneurs like me and you and small brands that are listening right now don't even get a shot. And that's
Yep.
where we are right now, Dana. It
Yep.
is so hard. What I did in 2017, you can't do right now.
Can't
I
do
was
it.
grinding and traveling the country, handing out samples, like killing at trade shows to get discovered. Now you have to pay to play. And if you can't afford that shelf space to compete with the Unilevers and the P&Gs and the L'Oreals, because guess what? They own 70 to 80% of all Black hair care. Probably
Yep.
more, Dana.
Yep. And
You
that,
know,
yeah, that number continues to rise. And to your point, they own the shelf space.
they
So
own the shelf
it
space and we're
is.
competing against them. And if you cannot pay to play or you cannot compete with them, you will not find yourself on shelf. So it goes back to the question Dana asked me about which retailer do you want? Guess what? I want to create a new space. I want something different where consumers, just like I go on Amazon, we can go to our own places, our own shops, our own
Hmm.
communities and buy the products that we're using. Why do
Hmm.
we need to keep giving I grew up in Gary, Indiana. We had nothing. I explained to people, we didn't have malls. We didn't have businesses. We didn't have movie theaters. As a kid, that's why the crime rate was so high. We didn't have things. If you are pouring back into your community and you're building these spaces for us, by us, that tells you something. And it's getting harder and harder to do because every time we sell to one of these multinationals, we're losing
That
power.
money doesn't circulate back in the community, right? And I think you make a great point, Rich, and shout out to Rich and Varse and all the people over at Essence. But I think that is probably one of the few success stories in the recent history of beauty products and major sales, where the brand, the dollars from that sale have still positively benefited the culture and the community, right? And you want to see more of that. Obviously, you want to hope that many of the VCs and family offices and individual high net worth investors that flood into the consumer product space and buy brands from founders do find a way to stay true to what the original vision of the brand was. As so much as that it allows the brand to still continue and thrive. Now, there are several examples across the history of brands where the brand needed to pivot because the consumer target or the audience change, right? And we know
Absolutely.
that when that has to happen, great. But mostly what we've seen in these situations, unfortunately, is larger conglomerates, investors, family offices, and VCs will come in and really strip the brand of a
Oh,
lot of
God.
what makes it unique.
From the quality, the manufacturing, the marketing, the community initiatives, the part that is what this is all about. I mean,
Yep.
it's I'm so hungry and I'm so thirsty to create something that really puts the power back into us. We were powerful. Like, I mean, I'm really, really good friends with the owner of Mixed Chicks, with Oyen
Hmm.
Handmade, with Alakay Natural. These are all still female
Hmm.
operated owned brands. And these women were making millions without all these. And now that the big companies own everything, it's so hard for us to survive. And so
Yep.
how do we see a path where we put the power back into us, the power back into the consumer to reclaim what we created? It's
It's a
it's tough.
great point.
I can't even sleep at night, Dana. Like, I'm just trying to
No, it's a
figure this
great point.
out.
And look, and it's why I'm so excited about the Brand Blueprint podcast, because we do want to bring more of those founders, those fantastic founders you just named, onto the show, and even maybe have a panel discussion where we can get into this particular dynamic, because I do think that there is an audience out there that wants to discuss and debate the growth of the beauty and wellness industry, especially as it relates to the culture and it relates to these young, fantastic entrepreneurs that are coming into the space right now. And you are passionate as well as I am about saving some of these new brand owners and founders from making a lot of the mistakes that we both made in our journeys with various brands. So I definitely want to thank you for really passionately sharing your perspective and insight on vision and branding in general. I want to end the interview with a little bit of a fun exercise we like to call brand or band. And this is, again, in the spirit of our show and team here. We are big hip hop fans, and we know that you're a big fan of hip hop as well. And so in a segment like this, we want to just kind of keep you moving fast, not give you too long to answer. So think every
I don't need
30,
time, Dana.
30 to
Come on,
45
hit me with
seconds.
it. Hit me with
So
it.
here's the gist of the exercise. We are going to I'm going to give you some names that are associated with the hip hop culture, whether it is a name of a band, meaning a rap group, or individual name of a rapper, or is it a actual brand name, a name that is either associated with the hip hop culture or with that particular rapper as well. And since I know you are a very astute and studied member of the hip hop culture, I'm going to start with a couple of easy ones, but we'll ratchet it up.
Let's go.
All right. So let's start with the first couple. So first one would be Woo Wear. Brand or band?
Come on, man. It's a brand created by one of the greatest hip hop bands, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang.
All right. Very good. First one.
And that's an
one would
amazing
be
example of taking a brand and going out and creating legacy in so many ways. So Wu Wear is still to this day making a ton of money, and it was basically a pivot from just the music, and the Wu Wear will live on forever.
So what about Cash Money?
Cash rules everything around. Oh wait, I'm still on Woo. Well, you're talking about Yeezy,
band or brand?
Wayne. That is a band that
very good.
That is
band is correct.
Yeah, that is Louisiana based Southern hip hop, but the most famous is Lil Wayne coming up out of there. Still famous.
All right. Here we got another one, which we'll see if this one, Black Wall Street.
Oh, you got me there. That is a brand, but it is a brand of, I don't know if that's educational resources or what it is. I don't know what it is. Honestly,
That's a good guess. Good guess. It's actually a band. It is the Games record label.
Oh, see, I don't listen to new hip hop. So you can't get me with the new stuff because I do not listen to new hip hop. It's not good, right. Dana.
Digging into the bag here and seeing if you could catch. How about Crisscross?
Crisscross will make you jump. It's a band. I definitely grew up. And they created backwards clothing trend. I don't know why the heck we followed it.
Yeah, true. So next question or next band or brand. So Def.
Jermaine Dupri, and it is a record label. So I don't know if that's necessarily a brand, but it's a bunch of people.
We'll call it a band. We'll call it the band. Okay, good answer. Two more, and we'll wrap it up. Fat Farm.
Fat Farm is a clothing brand that was birthed out of hip hop. Russell Simmons.
Very good. Even a bonus point for naming Russell Simmons as the founder. And then one of the last ones we'll give you today is Dipset.
Dipset is a rapper, and he is in Dipset. It's in it's East Coast. That he's not Mobb Deep, because it's not the two of them.
Cameron.
Duh.
Cameron.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you got me on that one. I couldn't think of it, but yeah.
All right, good. Look, this wraps up band. Thank you for humoring us with that segment. Thank you, Aisha, for your time today and for a wonderful interview. I want to let you end the show by wrapping up and just telling the people where they can find you, give them your social media handles, etc. We want to make sure that our audience can go out there and follow all the great work you're doing as well.
Absolutely. So you can find our products at honeybabynaturals.com, Amazon, local retailers. And I am Aisha RC on Instagram. I am in the process of working on something new and big. I do beauty consulting, brand consulting as well under Beauty Loft, which is my brand consulting arm. And Botanika Beauty is at botanikabeauty.com and Amazon. And thank you so much for having us. I'm excited about the podcast. I'm excited about this new venture, and I look forward to working with you and your team.
Thank you again, Aisha. And that's a wrap for this session of the Brand Blueprint. Thanks for joining us on the Brand Blueprint journey. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay updated. Watch the full episodes on our YouTube channel for an in-depth experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our website at thebrandblueprint.biz for exclusive content and materials. We're everywhere you need us to be.